So hello everyone. It's really nice to see the people who are here. I guess it's a true sustainability core of Lithuania, I can imagine. And let me dive right in by introducing our panelists. So we have Christel Søgaard Kirkeby, who is a project manager at the Danish Consumer Council. Hello. We have Ugnė Marija Andrijauskaitė, who is a historian with a PhD in humanities and a mother of 2 toddlers. And as she says, practitioner of sustainable as much as possible living. And we have Aušra Juozapaitytė, policy and business promotion officer at the Embassy of Sweden in Vilnius. So hello to everyone and thank you for being here. And I want to start by involving our audience a little bit. If we could have something on the screen. Could I see hands if you know this label? Okay, that's very good. I was right about saying that this is the core of sustainability here. So this is the Nordic Swan label. And why I wanted to show this, because I did want to get a sense of our audience today and to see, because the survey that we will talk about is actually a bit concerning in a sense that we don't see the trends in Lithuania. It's not the same as in the Nordic countries, right? When we talk about sustainability, we still have, I think, a very long way to go. And the Nordic Swan label in the survey was actually sometimes recognized, but not always people knew what it is. So again, raise your hands if you know exactly what it means. Okay, that's still pretty good. But that's very representative of the survey because a lot of people had seen the label, but didn't know exactly, what it represents. So, I want to start with a short intro on the survey. And in our region, 8 of 10 people say that they care about the environment, but most can't name a single harmful chemical in their cleaning products. We say we want to be eco-friendly, yet we often buy what's cheapest or most convenient. And when a label says green, we trust it, sometimes blindly. Today we're going to unpack what's really behind our choices and whether our good intentions match the reality. And I want to start with a more personal question to our panelists and ask about your green moment. What was the exact moment, if you can remember one, when you decided that sustainability is really important for you? So, Christel.
That's a very big question. I think it was when I decided to study environmental engineering, I would imagine.
That was a sign, probably.
That was maybe very defining for my life in that sense. And then also by doing that, gaining a lot of knowledge, working with environmental issues, working with chemicals, yeah. So that was definitely my defining moment.
Okay. Ugnė?
When I was a teenager, I got involved in punk DIY movement, which is very political, or at least it was very political here in Lithuania. It talked about feminism, politics, and of course veganism, human rights, animal rights. So those ideas were put as a good seed into me, and now I grew up to be quite a conscious person in all of these fields.
Yeah, that was very surprising to me when I found that out. I didn't know that about the movement. Yeah.
Yes, so hello everyone. Yeah, I might sound maybe a little bit biased, but I would say that a real game changer in my sustainability, in my personal sustainability journey, was actually when I started working at the Swedish Embassy and when I came across all the Swedish initiatives, movements, companies, of course. And when I remember once we had some kind of fashion-related event, and there was a lady from the Borås Textile Research Center who came to have, like a speech, or and then she told me about this washing bag I remember like for the clothes, so it prevents from the microplastics like turned up in the water. And it really struck me how easy, but at the same time how impactful one little thing can be. And since then, I really started like thinking about these smaller things, you know, not necessarily doing something huge, but like really that every single step and every single like, you know, thing can actually play an important role in being more sustainable.
We will definitely talk more about that today, because I think that's one of the main key ingredients to, you know, attract more people to think about it, at least, you know. One of the most interesting findings for me, I think, from the survey was the sort of issue ranking, and people were asked to rank the issues that concern them most. And basically what we see in Lithuania, well, all the Baltic countries, pretty much, they rank environment in the or sustainability in the 9th or 6th place, whereas in the Nordics we see them at the 2nd place, you know. And this is very, I think, a very deep-rooted feeling of, in Lithuania, at least what I hear when talking to people, that it's a luxury to think about the environment, you know. It's a bit of a Maslow's pyramid thing, that we need to, you know, take care of our healthcare, take care of our economy and all of that, and only then we can think about the environment. So I find this juxtaposition a bit interesting, because when we look deeper into it, it's not always the money, right? It's a lot of those little choices, as you mentioned. But let's talk about it a little bit. So, Christel, what's your view? Why are the Nordics more eco-conscious?
You have many good questions, really good questions.
Yeah, usually you have many good answers.
I don't have a PhD. Is it working?
Yeah, it is.
I don't have a PhD in the field, but I think some of it is a long story. Like, it doesn't evolve from nothing. So from my perspective, like, there's been, since I was small, there's been campaigns, there's been education in school, learning about the environment. When I was younger, there was even a small television section called OBS, information for the citizens about society, and then the authorities could make like small commercial infomercials on don't use this chemical to clean your sewer or something, because it's bad for environment. So there's been lots of different campaigns. There's been also different information centers trying to teach people about some of the concerning issues on either climate or environment or health.
Yeah, I think we will circle around this, that it's a lot about communication, right? And a lot about you know, just mere exposure, talking about it a lot. Aušra, you see both sides, sort of, in a sense. You see the talking with the business representatives from Sweden, you know, you see how, and talking with Swedes in general, you see their way, and you also see Lithuanian way, right? So what do you see in contrast?
Well, I think that in Sweden, and perhaps I dare to say also maybe in the Nordics, since I studied in Denmark, this strong, like, you know, approach to sustainability, it really derives a lot from the very early years of every person's upbringings, from the cultural values, from strong environmental ethos, which in a way is kind of a bit lacking here, and I think that might be also one of the strongest reasons perhaps why in Sweden, like, sustainability is seen as one of the most important factors when choosing a particular product, right? So that perhaps would be the main difference I tend to see. But I think the situation has been really changing here as well. During my years at the embassy, I remember when I started working and when we had the Swedish companies coming to talk about how we embed sustainability in their strategies, also daily management. and it felt that for the Lithuanian companies it might be still something new, and they were not maybe very convinced in the beginning how this can become like a competitive advantage, right? Eventually, but now after those 7 more years, I can see that Lithuanian businesses are also fully fledged like sustainability champions, and similarly with perhaps with the customers, it's still a journey. It's not a destination yet, but I think we are moving the right direction, and the Nordics are really like, if not showing the way, but at least we're somewhere to look towards for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugnė, you started talking a little bit about already your personal path, you know. So talking about, first of all, this ranking of issues, what would be your personal ranking? And talking about sustainability from this perspective, do you think that in Lithuania it really has to go, you know, linearly, in a sense that, you know, first we need to take care of the economy, then healthcare system, and only then we can think about sustainability, or can it actually happen faster?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think for me personally, the most important thing, pressing thing in Lithuania is human rights issues, which has to be solved like yesterday. But I'm also, you know, thinking about my inner punk. I'm thinking that we should aim for everything and now. We cannot postpone neither of the pressing topics, because the environment, our nature won't wait till the day in the future come, and then we will start, you know, taking care of it. We need to start doing it now, because the time is running up. And what I'm often thinking, that I should do some changes in my everyday life today, so that my kids could grow up and see, you know, the forests, see the corals, and I think that we all should do the same.
So if I understand correctly, there's no ranking for you? It's like, or there is a ranking?
I wish we could do everything now. If
Okay.
I'm allowed to have this wish.
Yeah, we can wish. Staying with the economy topic, one research moment, the one that came from the survey, is about price sensitivity. And we always, when we talk about, you know, sustainability, I think it's always a very sensitive topic. We think that being sustainable is more expensive. A lot of organic products are more expensive. And price sensitivity from the survey is highest actually in Lithuania. And even eco-conscious consumers tend to choose cheaper products just, you know, for the price. So my question to you all would be, in general, you know, how do we close this gap of wanting to buy safer, greener products and not being able to afford them? But also more specifically, Aušra, when you see, for example, the business side and the you know, people side, is there a way for a business to be profitable and green, and to not greenwash, and to be, you know, truly sustainable? And does it you know, benefit them as well?
So undoubtedly, yes. And I think, you know, businesses are also run by whom? By people, right? And if people, they commit to the right values, if they have like respect to nature and environment in mind, they also reflect that into their like business strategies and how do they manage it. But of course, I think that's what's sort of visible in Sweden, and I think elsewhere it's becoming like something gradually more and more important, is understanding for the businesses that it's important for your reputation. It's of course, it's like a competitive advantage to keep in mind if you want to attract customers, if you want to stay relevant, right? But it's also obviously good for your reputation. And and also it helps you even like, it helps you to attract talents. It helps you to promote your brand. So I think it's the only way actually to go. And I'm pretty sure that in Lithuania it's also becoming more and more like a thing to what you in order to remain in the market and to remain profitable, you have to be sustainable, and not only like in one particular aspect, which we can talk about greenwashing, but relying more on a holistic approach, right? Not saying what I'm doing this particular thing sustainable, but when really not talking about like all the rest, keeping everything in a backstage. No, it's about like having this really holistic approach and not just some false communication about one single thing you do.
Christel, what do you see in your work? Is sustainability always more expensive?
No, it isn't. We work a lot with chemicals in consumer products, and we had, it was a few years ago, there's a Danish television program called, it's actually called Cash, sort of. It's a money program. And I was invited to join a family who was, they wanted to make some environmental adjustments, but they thought, oh, it's too expensive. So I sort of helped them look through their house. And also what we did was we looked through all of our testing. So we do tests of harmful chemicals in shampoo or in hygienic pads, kids products, lots of stuff. So we went through all of our testing trying to figure out, okay, what was the price of the poorly rated products and what was the price of the ones that actually were free from harmful chemicals. And it turned out that in the majority of products, the less harmful products were actually cheaper. And that's because it's always like the hen and the egg, but in Denmark, every single supermarket chain, they have a private label that of like cosmetics, detergents, that has the Nordic Swan, and it has an allergy label. So there's sort of a safe choice that you can buy going into whatever grocery store you're in, and they're cheap. So and when you have that, it makes the good choice the easy choice. And when they're eco-label, they also look both at like how effective are they, how do they impact like the climate, are they not overly wrapped in unnecessary packaging, etc. So that's an easy way of going about it. Yeah.
And I think if I remember correctly, it was you who told me about the research that you did, right? When you realized that different families, how they were living, right?
Yeah. So this is back when I was a student, but my master thesis was trying to uncover like the climate impact of family life. So I had 4 families living in different houses. I was tracking them for a few months, so they needed to write down what did they use on heat, what did they use on electricity, how did they transport themselves, and they needed to give me all the receipts on all the food they bought. And then I sort of calculated the CO2 emissions from their lives. And I had 3 quite eco-friendly families joining, and I was supposed to have a fourth, but some incident happened. They couldn't join, so I needed an extra family, and I just got a random family, and they didn't really care about the environment. They were not all that much into it, but they were quite poor. So when I did the math, sort of all the families making the right choices, thinking about the environment, they ended up having the largest climate impact, whereas the last family, they were 2, they were students, they were poor, so they had a small apartment, didn't transport themselves a lot, didn't go on flights, only used a little heat on this flat, didn't eat that much meat. So they ended up being the most environmentally friendly. So that's another aspect of it. One thing is like, what is your attitude towards it? And another thing is, what is the actual impact you make on the world? And I think in Denmark, we do see that many people really would like to do something for the environment, but then they would also just love to go to Mallorca for the weekend and then go back. So yeah, and have a big house and a steak.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all about balance, right? And Ugnė, for you, how does it look in your family? Can you actually save by being sustainable, and what are the choices that you make daily?
So when I was asked to introduce myself, I said that I am sustainable as much as it is possible, because I don't believe that it's possible to be like 100% sustainable or 99 or 98. No. So all the choices we make is quite simple. You know, for example, for many years I was vegan. You know, it was my choice to make, you know, a smaller impact on the environment. And then I started to think, if I'm buying this vegan sausage thing, which was produced in Italy or France, packed in plastic, transported here to Lithuania, is it actually better? Instead of my father is a fisherman, he goes to the lake for the weekend, catches some fish, brings it back, and you know, grills it in his backyard. So which choice is actually better? Which is more sustainable? So you would think that buying eco product would be, but then when you think about it more, you see that actually it might be not. And then it starts to add up, and then it becomes your everyday life. So instead of getting into the car, you walk if it's not too far away. For example, we have one car for the family with 2 kids. I think many Lithuanians wouldn't think about it. It wouldn't be impossible. For us, it's possible. So I live in Kaunas, which is 100 kilometers away. And I commute to Vilnius, where I'm working, with a train instead of a car. So less impact. I walk to work from the station instead of, you know, taking public transport or anything else. So it's small things that kind of sums up, and then you see an impact. You know, instead of buying a lot of random food products and putting it into the fridge to, you know, rot when you forgetting about it, you make a list and go shopping with a list. You plan your family menu for a week. And all these small things, which can be so easily integrated into your everyday life that you don't even think about it at all anymore, makes actually such a big impact.
I heard that you're actually famous in some circles of how you are able to use your food to the last bit.
Oh yes, like we are practicing a lot, like recycle, reduce, reuse kind of thinking. So what we do in the family, we actually we do not generate so much of waste which goes into the landfills, because we recycle plastic, paper. Yeah. So the only thing which we have to throw is diapers, because we decided that we will spend more time with the family instead of washing the recyclable ones. But yeah, so for example, if some food is not being eaten by the kids, which is, you know, quite common in the toddlers, what we do, we make it into another food. Yeah, so the kid doesn't eat, I don't know, a steak or I don't know, some veggie stew. So you make it into a waffle, and you don't waste it at all. So you just get creative in your everyday life, and then it becomes a routine, and you don't even think about it.
So we're asking Ugnė a lot about her personal life. What about your personal lives? What do you do every day as sustainability choices, Christel?
So what I learned from doing the work earlier was that it matters a lot, like what frames you live in. So we bought a really well-isolated house. We have solar panels on the roof. We have an electric car. I commute with the train. I still work a bit away from my home, so that's not fully sustainable. We try to reduce the amount of meat we eat, but I mean, having a husband and 2 big sons, they're not really keen on going vegetarian. Yeah, and then I try to choose like organic products when I can, or eco-label products, but it's not. It's a balance. So it's. I mean, you need to live your life. So I'm trying to actually take the big decisions, the one that really matters. I try to make them, because then I can sort of ease my mind a bit more about the smaller choices. So I don't make all the small choices. And I can make like a comparison. I had at work, I know we're going to discuss microplastics later, but just to open it up, I get questions from people saying, oh, I learned about the, what do you call it, the cloths you use in the kitchen and microplastics. And now I feel so bad about this piece of cloth because it sheds microplastic. What am I to do? Do I need to go with the cotton ones? And I don't really like them. And they're so ambivalent. And it's true they may shed microplastics, and you can go with the cotton, but there's also a lot of you use a lot of water producing the cotton, so it's not that simple. And it's like, okay, but if you're into microplastics, then go outside and like spend half an hour picking up pieces of plastics, because then like your microplastic karma will be really good, and you will have saved so much more than these pieces of cloth. And then you can relax a bit about that and go for another big decision instead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can sometimes be really overwhelming in a sense when you think about it, and we spoke about it with you, you know, that even when there are apps and everything, a lot of ways of checking, you know, you still can get a bit like, what do I do? I can't do anything anymore, you know, where to start? So maybe it's just, you know, little steps along the way. And Aušra, what do you do every day?
I would say quite similarly as both Christel and Ugnė, but I'm a pescatarian. I don't own a car. I pay attention to recycling, energy use. And I would say what I also rely a lot on this, I don't know if you heard this I see one Swede for sure, so lagom, not too much, not too little. And I think this, it's a perfect concept which aligns very well with sustainable living, because it's all about moderation and balance in life. And I think which I'm also trying to really to rely on. And I must say what I'm quite keen, well, I have a keen interest in fashion. So, as you may know, of course, fashion industry is one of the most polluting ones. But it's also quite a playground for me to consume fashion sustainably, and I'm trying to be really creative. I'm trying to organize some pop-ups, to buy, if I get anything, I get usually secondhand or upcycled. I swap with my friends. So and it's quite an interesting thing, because when I feel what I'm one of a kind, rather than being, you know, somebody like, you know, buying just fast fashion products and looking like everyone else. I don't know. So it's my little fashion game, which I do, and I believe that I'm trying to do it as much as possible in a sustainable manner. But again, I think what's important to highlight here, and I think that was already mentioned by perhaps all of us, but sustainability is not like, you can't be really 100% sustainable. It's almost impossible. Well, I believe that it's very much about thinking of the ways of how you can do the biggest impact, and actually and doing that, rather than thinking about how to do everything perfectly and sustainably. So and even if you talk about fashion, I'm really thinking about how to consume fashion, but without compromising my fashion sense. So it's like, being creative. Sustainability is a lot about being creative in daily life.
So I think we definitely established that you can save by living, you know, sustainably. But one thing is if you can afford something or not. And another thing is just about how informed we are. And the survey was very big on that, about how much we actually know. And actually, to be informed doesn't cost that much, right? We can really get into a lot of those topics without the price tag. And you just mentioned microplastics already, and that's what I wanted to talk about, because in this survey, we can really see that in the Baltics, the issues that are very visible, that we see them, for example, microplastics, they tend to rank higher for people. They say that they're much more important and they know about them more, whereas the real issues, such as greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity loss, land use change, they rank much, much lower, because people tend to generally not see them as much, you know. And that's not the case in the Nordic countries. Again, they tend to rank pretty well. They know their real issues, right? So, Christel, what do you think the Nordics did right in educating their consumers? And I know we spoke a lot already with you about that there were just, you know, so many campaigns, but maybe one of the topics that I want to touch upon is how you reach the people, you know, how they understand what you're saying and how you really get to them, you know.
Yeah, just to make it clear, so where I work currently is at the Danish Consumer Council on a specific initiative called Think Chemicals. So this is the government funding an NGO on awareness raising among consumers. And we have different initiatives being fundraised for this. And we test different products, and then we explain about it, and we go to the media, but we also use a lot of social media when we try to explain about the results. So we're on mainly Facebook, Instagram, sometimes also TikTok, but it's a bit trying not to support China, so instead, but you can't be on social media, yeah. But what we see is there's a lot of misinformation on social media, and especially the microplastics issue is really relatable on social media, because you can show, we had some videos on turtles like chewing on plastic, so it becomes really, it's very easy to see, and you really feel it hurting your heart, whereas chemicals you can't see infertility that clearly when you show it that way. It's also a bit more difficult to show climate change, because like the weather today is really nice, and it hasn't been all summer, but if you take a picture of it, it just looks really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's again, you know, this visibility problem, I think, and also how we reach our, you know, consumers. We will get back to that a little bit more later, but what was also very interesting, that the Baltics tend to get their information more from social media, and way more than the Nordics. Nordics still get most of their information from institutions, and they trust them much more. But I think that would be my insight, that in Lithuania, at least, I don't know about other Baltic countries, is that our institutional channels on social media tend to be really bureaucratic. They still haven't learned how to communicate and how to really reach the young people, you know. They don't do fun videos of being sustainable, you know. Do you practice that in Denmark?
Yeah, it's a lot more. I used to work for the Danish Ministry of Environment, and actually I created a Facebook user because I needed it for my work, because what we did was making information campaigns for consumers on Facebook, and I also needed a Twitter account for my work. Yeah, so yeah, it's not, I think it's been a realization that you need good legislation, but you also need like the consumers to play along, because legislation can solve some of it, and consumers need to solve some of it. And if you're like really bureaucratic, then it's hard to reach the consumers. But we have, and it's maybe a long tradition, but there's a lot of trust between consumers and authorities in Denmark. So it's not that big a gap to bridge. Yeah.
Ugnė, what do you use? First of all, where do you get your information mostly, and that you trust? Because we take you as the Lithuanian sustainability example. And also, what do you see amongst the people around you? Do you see this problem that they don't really know the problems at all?
Mm-hmm. So the first question, well, a lot of information I already have, so I don't actively look for it. But when I wanted to know more about fashion issues and sustainability, I looked it up on Instagram, or I was recommended some accounts to follow, and actually they're pretty informative. They use reliable sources, so I think it's a nice way of communicating these issues to, I don't know, young people in 20s, 30s. When it comes to people who use social media and internet less, I don't know how to reach them. But when we talk about new generation, so the young people who are in schools today, I see very nice trends. For example, we have a quite strong and active movement, Fridays for Future. Young people, talking about climate issues. That's nice. That's very good. Then again, looking at my family, what I see, how to get information is the family. So do we talk to our families enough? So do we teach our grandparents to recycle? Actually, I think the statistic says that elder people do recycle better and more in Lithuania than the younger, which is nice. And then, what do you bring to a family? For example, I teach my kids to recycle. They are only 1 and 3 years old, but they do know how to recycle. So if we share this information, if we don't trust the social media to do it, if we don't think schools do it enough, so everything is in our hands.
And Aušra, what do you see in Sweden? Regarding the issue, right?
I would say what it's again very much a combination of different factors, starting from the same values, right? And having sustainability included already in the school's curriculum. So it's something kids are taught from a very early age, right? And very with an experience like really on the ground, so to say, being in the nature while talking about different environmental things. Then, of course, governmental incentives, I think, are also very much important. And, for instance, I can mention the eco-labelings we are talking about today. So the eco-label Sweden, it's something like owned and governed, let's say, by the Swedish state. And the two eco-labels, the biggest eco-labels, although there are so many of them, there's a huge database. I was trying to go through it yesterday, but it was almost impossible. But the two biggest ones, so the same the Nordic Swan and the EU eco-label, they are kind of governed by the same state, eco-label Sweden. So it already shows what kind of approach and attitude the Swedish state has towards educating and empowering its citizens to consume sustainably. So I think all these things are very important, and also not to forget the community or communal initiatives, I think, which are also quite a thing in Sweden, and I think they help to increase the kind of not like the popularity, but the easiness actually to access sustainable products and sustainability in general. And for instance, whereas the first in the world and biggest shopping mall, second-hand shopping mall, Retuna, it's called. And it's quite unique in a way that all the stores which are in that particular shopping mall, they are all like second-hand or upcycled, recycled products and things like that. So, and it's run as a community initiative. So it also brings this very interesting approach. So. Yeah, a lot of different things, but they can all be equally important.
Yeah, it's. I think it's so contagious. My husband usually never rides bicycles, hates them, and we were talking. He was just in Copenhagen, and he went to a conference, and the whole entire time there, he rode bicycles. So I was like, why do you not do that in Lithuania? But it's, of course, it's the infrastructure and the availability, and that of course plays a huge role as well. But I think we're getting there slowly as well. One other thing from the survey was also that talking about harmful substances. So one thing is that we might not know exactly what issues are the most important. But also in Lithuania, we don't know very well about the harmful substances, what they are, what they mean. Lithuania has probably the lowest awareness, and from the Baltics, Estonia has the highest. So I think there's still a lot of education to be done in that regard as well. But Christel, I find your work really interesting, and I wanted to ask you, what has been the most shocking finding that you've done, when looking at the actual products? Something that you wouldn't expect, or something that was really interesting?
Oh, another good question. I can't remember what I told you. No, I can tell you we made an app because we know consumers find it really difficult to navigate chemicals. Like, I think most Danish people will be able to say parabens are bad, and they will be able to say PFAS is bad. And parabens is like an old chemical that they've known for years, and PFAS really peaked a few years ago. So we've been trying to teach people about it for many years, and then it turned out that there was some pollution in the eggs, actually in the organic eggs, because they were fed with fish that were PFAS contaminated by nature. And then everybody started saying PFAS, and it's used all over, and yeah. But trying to educate people about this, and there are so many different chemicals that can be harmful for the environment. They can be persistent, they can be endocrine disrupting. But to give people a cosmetic product, saying, could you please try to read the ingredient list and try to find out if it contains anything problematic, people would be like, ugh. So you can go for an eco label, or you can use like the app we have. It's called Kemilupen, and then you can just scan a product and it will tell you everything. Does it contain anything that causes an allergy? Does it contain anything that can disrupt your hormonal system? Is it bad for the environment? And this is like really cool. So I think actually my major moment, it's not a product, but last year it was so popular, and Denmark is not a big country either, but we had 4.5 million scans with the app, which is like really huge. And people write to us, not every day, but several times a week, just saying, we love your work. We love how you make it simple for us. Because one thing is trying to make the right choices, but navigating, not knowing what is the right choice is really difficult. So I think a lot of the work is also the enabling. Because if it's easy to make the right choice, many people will actually want to do it. But when it's difficult, or when it's like lots of greenwashing, people saying, oh, my product is really nice and it's so good for the environment, and they forget saying, okay, yeah, I have, maybe that was what we were discussing. I had like a pan producer saying, our frying pan is really good. It doesn't contain any prohibited PFAS. It contains a polymer that's really nice, but it's a PFAS polymer. So yeah, you can sort of get misled by greenwashing, and that's why we need the eco labels. We need sort of independent work like we're doing in the app, or like the yeah.
And Ugnė, in your daily life, how do you find it? Do you find it difficult to navigate this? Do you already feel like you know everything and it's very easy to choose at a supermarket or anywhere else, or do you use any apps? Or how does it work?
Well, I don't think that we have any app, or maybe I'm not a very app person. What I learned from my vegan life, you read the full label, you find out about it, and then you choose your products, and then you stay with these products. And that's, I don't know, my way, and it's quite simple way. Of course, it requires some reading, some homework, into knowing what's good, what's bad, but it works. Once you learn, then you remember. Another thing is, people are talking. They are sharing some good things they find. They are sharing some bad things they learn. For example, we have this consumer protection agency Instagram, which is quite actually good, because it gives a lot of good information for the consumers on what harmful products we have found in the market already. So if you're buying it, then you can stop doing it. Another thing that I learned is that when you buy from a trusted supermarket or a shop, then of course you have a bigger chance of getting a good product without any harmful materials, more sustainable product. Because when I'm following this Instagram account of the agency, I see that most of harmful and dangerous products are being sold in some weird market shops on the corner somewhere online, and so on and so on. So again, like, you can work hard, or you can make the easy choice. Go to, I don't know, eco store, go to a supermarket which has a eco line, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe a very important thing you can do. I know it's big in Denmark. It's big in the most of the world. Shopping on Temu and Shein and etc. That's really shitty. Sorry. We did a test on like waterproof jackets from Shein, from Temu, from Amazon, and we also tested some Danish jackets just to compare. And the majority of the jackets born online on the platforms contain PFAS in amounts that is not allowed within the EU. The Danish jackets we tested, 7 of them didn't have PFAS and 1 of them had, but in like far lower amounts that is still legal. Yeah. So, and that just showed there's a huge difference in where you buy. So the first and maybe most important choice is to actually, just by buying European, you already protect yourself and the environment more.
Yeah. I have a quick detour and a surprise for you. I'm experimenting, so don't judge me. But I have a quick true or false round for you. And in this way, I think we will also quickly present more findings of the survey as well. So just if you think it's true, raise your hand. I will read a statement. And if you think it's false, show like this or something. Okay, ready? Let's go. People in the Nordics are naturally greener than people in the Baltics. Choose. That's a good way of thinking. Okay. It's actually false, because higher Nordic numbers reflect decades of eco-education and strong policy support, and not natural attitudes, right? Yeah, but you were on the right path. Okay, next one. The majority of Baltic consumers believe companies greenwash their products. True or false? Actually true, because many agree that brands exaggerate eco-claims and people get annoyed by vague words like sustainable or climate neutral. Okay, next. Women are more likely than men to care about eco-friendly cosmetics, cleaning, and children's goods. Yes, we will talk about that more if we manage with time. But yes, it's true. A strong gender difference confirmed across all 3 Baltic states and also some in the Nordics as well. And okay, let's do a last one. Eco-labels are niche. Only a small minority notice or use them when shopping. General. Good. False, yes. Awareness is broad. The majority recognize labels, even if not everyone knows what they mean, right? Okay, well done. I think mostly we conveyed some fast information about the survey. And let's move to the labels now, I think. It's the time we have, a little bit time left. And we can see that trust in eco-labels is really high in the Nordics, as we discussed already. Medium in Latvia and really low in Lithuania. Many Lithuanians don't know what the labels mean. And my question would be to Ugnė. Do you trust eco-labels? What do you look at as a consumer? Is there something that you keep an eye out for?
What I always look for is when we are buying anything from the sea. I look for the labeling, and then the same goes for coffee. Always looking for the little frog on the package. So these are two must things in our, I don't know, shopping traditions. The rest, it's, you don't think about it too much. If you find a good product, which is quite often in our case, I think, a more sustainable version or more or less harmful products, so we just buy the same every time.
Do you notice if they have eco-labels, the products that you choose, after choosing, for example?
Yeah. Especially all the washing detergents and... Yeah.
No, okay. Christel, you had an interesting observation when we spoke that the Nordic swan is not as well known amongst younger Danes, right?
It's at least the sense I get, because when the Eco-Labeling Council asks, it's really known, but I think sometimes when we discuss with consumers, some of the young people don't really know the eco-labels, and they're highly influenced by social media and by the greenwashing, so they would rather go for the leaping bunny, the not tested on animals label maybe, instead of and actually sometimes also thinking that's an environmental thing, or trying to go for vegan cosmetics. But there are some issues with it, because it's very difficult. It's not really allowed to do animal testing on cosmetics, so it's rather misleading, some of it. And we try to educate them that going for the eco-labels is a good choice, because we also see some companies creating their own eco-labels, and then they make their own criteria, and they sort of fit, our product is good. So it's, like I was saying before, you need to enable them, because otherwise, when I look back at myself as young, I also bought lots of greenwashing products, but having the tool of an eco-label makes it a lot easier to make the good choices, and to be sure that it's not false, because sometimes when we do testing and we show people what are really good and bad products, they get really disappointed if they found out that the illusion they bought into was unreal. Like we tested some efficiency tested some detergent sheets. I don't know if you heard about them. Yeah. So it's, instead of using a powder or a liquid, you can use a sheet.
Yeah.
And they had some really aggressive marketing, also with the turtles and with the plastics that the turtle were eating. But in reality, this is like 3 grams of detergent. And how they make it a sheet is actually by adding a plastic. That's what makes it a sheet. And we tried testing it, and we compared it to a good detergent, and we compared it to just using water, not adding anything. And they performed similarly to water. And even some stains they managed to sort of fixate, so it got a little bit worse. So, and then people using them got quite disappointed, because they were like, I'm saving the turtles. Yeah, but in reality, you're just buying a useless product also containing plastic.
You just saved me from buying that. Thank you. That's one good thing that came out of it, because I was actually considering. It looked so good on the ads, It sounds so great, but that's greenwashing again for you. Okay. One last question I think we have time for, and then just closing remarks, and I will leave some time for questions from the audience if we have any. But I really wanted to touch upon this question because I think it's really important, and it's about gender roles. So what we really see in this survey, and I think generally in our life and observation, you know, that there is still a huge gap in how women shop and how men shop. And first and foremost, because, you know, women in general tend to do most of the family's shopping. You know, they choose the products, they choose the, they make those decisions. Whereas even in survey, we see that men tend to know better the green options for like electronics, for cars, for tools. But there's also thinking that these also could be labeled more clearly for men, so it's easier for them to see. But for women, they tend to report that they also navigate it much harder. Like it's an everyday struggle. They have to really think about it every single day. So firstly, Ugnė, how is it in your family? Is it representative of the survey? Is your husband less involved, knows less, or have you, you know, are you on par together doing this?
Actually, in our case, everything changed quite drastically. Before we met, he was, you know, living ordinary life, not thinking too much about his choices. And after we met and got into a relationship, his life changed a lot because, you know, he sees how I live, he sees my choices, and well, he has to make his own choices, and he sees that maybe my choices are actually quite good and smart. For example, if he wouldn't think at all about his meat consumption, now he's quite often thanks me for introducing me to a lot of a bigger variety of vegetables, a bigger variety of fruits, which, you know, came handy in a vegan or vegetarian diet. So his meat consumption dropped drastically because, well, instead of eating steak, which he actually loves, he would choose, for example, I don't know, cauliflower steak, which makes a change. You know, a small one, but within its sum ups, it gets bigger. The same with coffee. As I said, like what we always do, we always choose coffee which has a Rainforest Alliance label. And I don't drink coffee that much. So coffee buying is my husband's responsibility. And what has changed, that now he is always looking for this little frog and for his coffee, and he never buys it if it doesn't have that one. And then, you know, everything is about education. You know, I educated him, like not on purpose, naturally. And having a son, well, he learns from me as well. And I think that when he becomes an adult, he would have this kind of way of thinking, which would be a norm for him, and we'll share it with others too.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. So just last remarks from each of you, very quick, one sentence. If everyone here did one thing differently tomorrow to be greener, what would you want it to be? Christel. You were like leaning back to think and got you there.
You would actually need to write letters to politicians and to companies making demands that they need to do something for the environment, because your outreach in that would be far bigger than what you can do at home.
That's a good one. Ugnė.
I think the thing I would wish everybody would start doing tomorrow or maybe today is less food waste, because it's a very easy thing to change. So let's do that.
Aušra?
Since I understand what, I cannot reiterate like something what has been already said, but I was thinking perhaps like going through your daily routines and like checking every single thing where you can actually be more environmental friendly and more conscious. That would be my thing, and that's something I also did myself. Like,
Okay. Thank you so much. And any questions from the audience? We do have.
Yeah, when we talk about food waste, we can just buy less, yes, but then when it comes to stores, a lot of the food that doesn't get bought, it just rots, but it rots in the store. So what do we do about that? Because yeah, I'm not purchasing the meat perhaps, but then it's just laying there, so it feels like it goes to waste, you know, so I'd rather just buy it and eat it. So what do I do about that? How do we conquer this problem? Because the stores still produce even if we don't buy. So
That's a great question. Is there anyone specific you would like to answer? Christel, maybe?
Maybe I could explain a bit about what we have in Denmark. So we have some shops starting to make like shelves saying last date. So they make these offerings on things that are going out of date. And then we have increasingly also systems where they give food for organizations that then can give it freely away for everybody who shows up. But it's of course aimed at people who don't have a lot of money. But then you can show up and you can get, sometimes you will get meat, sometimes you will get dairy, rice, whatever they have that's sort of going out of date but is still edible. And that's a way of saving it and also putting it to really good use.
I think that's already something that's been implemented by Maisto Bankas locally here in Lithuania, that they collect like food which is about to expire and then we just give it away to people which are in need.
Yeah, so it's slowly moving. Can we have one more? Yes?
Achulabai, thank you very, very much. A great discussion. To follow up what Christel has said about writing to politicians, I would add another one. Join an organization that is environmentally advocating for better environment, because together you can do that, and there are many organizations. Every EU member state has several. Or if you don't find one, set one up yourself. And that's a great way of doing it, because you can then put pressure. And if you are an accredited organization, join that organization, can become a member of the European Environment Bureau. And the European Environment Bureau puts pressure on the Commission and on the Parliament. So we're working right up the tree all the way to the very, very, very top. And if you look at numbers, what are the worst things we're doing to the environment? Soil damage, soil loss, huge areas of the globe turned into rearing animals for meat, and transportation. And one of the things I would love to see in more countries, repairing. In Ireland, for example, I don't know anybody who'll repair our vacuum cleaner, our washing machine, our electric drill. And one number I'll give you, 1972, which is the year I became aware. I was in Lancaster University in England, and the Limits to Growth study was published. Only One Earth was published. I thought, this is important. And 1976, I became aware of the Nordic countries when I was working for the Irish National Science Council. And we did a tour of the Nordic countries. We went to Sweden and Finland, particularly, only those two. We didn't go to Denmark. And we looked at their wastewater treatment streets ahead of what we were doing in Ireland. So the Nordic countries, I found even as far back as 1976, were leading. And that again is due to government thinking. There we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think it's a great way to end the discussion. You know, we see the Nordics in front of us as a beacon, and we have someone to follow, but it also really depends on the little choices that we make every single day. So thank you very much for everyone who came here today, and thank you, our panelists.